Welcome. I am Professor Dawn Wooten, and I want to thank you for joining us for episode 2, the Federal Department of Education Government Overreach at its Finest. And I'm just happy to welcome you into our program today. Let's start with the news in two. And this week, the news was about the Supreme Court taking up to President Biden's initiative to eliminate student debt. And I really don't think it's going to go anywhere in the Supreme Court. I think they're going to strike it down because it's an agreement between a student and their lender. It has nothing to do with the government. Now, the government does guarantee a lot of student loans, but just erasing them is not appropriate. It's not responsible. And I don't think that the president's program is going to go anywhere. It's not going to get any traction. And part of the reason is it's only available to students who just recently graduated. It's unavailable to someone like me who's been, paying on student loans for 2 decades and still in deep under, because the program explicitly says your loans have to have a certain letter on them. And I don't have any of those letters. My husband doesn't. No one we know has those letters. So it's just for new students, newly graduated college students, which is a political base of voters that the president wants to turn into Democrats. So this isn't really a relief program. This is all about votes in the general election. So let's just pray that the Supreme Court has the foresight and the bravery to strike this thing down, because it's not helping anyone. Today, the Federal Department of Education. Let's start with what the Constitution says about education. The 10th Amendment sends any action not handled by the federal government back to the states. Okay, education is in that. The 14th Amendment says that if there is a public school in your vicinity, you are granted and guaranteed access to that education. Okay, fairly simple. But the 14th Amendment does not give the federal government the right to interfere. It does not give them the right to oversee or handle money or anything else. It is one department that is all about overreach, and it is unconstitutional, and the department needs to be dismantled. Their mandate, Congress created the department in 1979, was to strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal education opportunity for every individual. The Constitution already guarantees that. We don't need a department to do it. To supplement efforts of the states to local school systems and other instrumentalities to the private sector, public and private educational institutions, public and private nonprofit educational institutions, parents and students, to improve the quality of education. What is some bureaucrat in Washington going to do to improve education in a little town in Mississippi or a small town in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma? What is some bureaucrat in Washington going to know about how to help those people? They're not. That is why any kind of reform or any kind of changes or any kind of improvements to schools must be at the local level. To encourage the increased involvement of the public, parents, and students in federal education programs. Now you're asking parents, teachers, and students to get more involved with the federal government when we should be less involved with the federal government. To improve the quality and usefulness of education through federally supported research, evaluation, and sharing of information. That is really what the DOE is. It is a research hub. What they do is they take standardized test scores, they take graduation rates, they track data on students from, it was called the Cradle to Grave program. And it is still up and running, by the way, even though lots of people fought against it, including me. It is still there. It is still valid, and data is being collected on your students daily, sent to the federal government, and who knows what they're doing with it. Their stated purpose is to make sure they're tracking education to ensure that everyone's learning what they're supposed to be learning. That's not what they're doing. To improve the coordination of federal education programs. So we need to create a federal Department of Education so that we can coordinate our own programs that we're going to make when we are the Federal DOE. Oh boy, talk about a whole bunch of circular logic. No reason for that. Okay. We don't need a federal DOE, and therefore we don't need their programs. All right. Um, and it just strikes me as a really unnecessary component to education. Because if you think about it, your taxes go to your local and state entities, and they take out their percentage for education. Then the rest of the money goes to Washington, D.C., where it gets filtered through all these different agencies, and then you have to fill out a grant to get your own money back. How stupid is that? I mean, really, how stupid is that? Okay. In 1980, Congress made the Federal Department of Education a cabinet level agency. I have no idea why. Today, the program operates things that touch on every area and level of education. And the department programs also provide grants, loans, work study for students in college. And I'm not necessarily against those things. When you think about it, federal money is your money. And if part of my taxes can go to helping a student go to college, I'm all for that. That's fine. I'm happy with that. But when my money is wasted, that's when I get upset. The department carries out its mission in two ways. First, the Secretary of Education is a leader in ongoing national dialogue over how to improve education. Really? Now, our last Secretary of Education, our former Betty DeVos, she had been a teacher, but she had been a politician longer. And so once you step out of the classroom, you don't really have any idea what's going on in there. Okay. You have to be in a classroom to understand what it is our students need. And visiting isn't going to cut it. You need to ask the teachers. The teachers are never surveyed. The teachers are never asked for their opinion or asked what they think of testing, what they think of a grant program, what they think of this. They're never asked. Never. They're the ones who can give you the best answer. They are the most qualified to give you the best answer. Ask the teachers. Okay? I get so frustrated when I'm doing things like this and talking about the federal DOE because it is such a boondoggle. It's billions of dollars wasted for no good reason other than the government to spy on our children. That's really all it is. And we need to get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Well, what about all the people who work there? What about their jobs? They can find another job. There's plenty of jobs out there. Okay? I know we're in a recession right now, but believe me, there's jobs out there. I've applied for a lot of them. All right? So let's talk about the DOE budget. Okay? In fiscal year 2022, so just this past fiscal year, the DOE got $637.7 billion. Billion dollars. And that was to be divided amongst their various components and programs. Where'd that money go? I mean, most of it probably went to salaries, overhead, that kind of thing. How much it actually got back to students? That's what I want to know. Because according to Education Week, approximately 48% of a school's budget is from their state, 44% is from the locality, their county or city. The last 8% comes from the federal DOE. However, the emphasis is on grants for specific programs and services for students that need them. So 92% of school budgets are state and local money. Why can we just not give up the 8%? Just give it up. And a lot of people will say, well, because then you're giving up school lunches. No, you're not. The free school lunch program is run through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, not the Department of Education. Okay? You can blow off the DOE, not do standardized testing, and not lose a thing. All right? You may not be eligible to apply for certain grants, but there are plenty of corporations out there and foundations that give you the same opportunity and don't ask for anything in return other than, hey, how'd it work out? They don't require standardized testing. Anyone who doesn't understand this needs to. Standardized testing is all about making sure you get your money back from the federal government, but what it costs to do it negates anything you get back. So it's a wash. And I'll get into that more than that. For the DOE basically revolve around the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is Common Core renamed. And it's really a terrible concept educationally. There is no way to do one size fits all education. Nobody learns the same way. You know, we might have similar ways of learning. Like I'm a very visual learner when it comes to reading, but when it comes to music, I learn everything by ear. When it comes to science, I have to do things with my hands to understand. And there are students out there who are just like me. They have multiple learning styles, or they have styles that are specific to certain subject areas. Not everyone learns the same. And so you can't put a one size fits all program on the schools and expect it to be successful. It's not going to be. Plus, in Latin, you're grooming yourself to be an attorney or a politician or a doctor. But if you go to, I don't know, Connorsville High School in the middle of farm country in Indiana, you're not, that's not what your focus is. In that community, they have a lot of family farms, and a lot of those kids are going to be farmers. So they don't need the same thing that kids in Boston do, or that kids in LA do, or that kids in Minnesota do. It's just different in every locale. Even within a state, you can have such a variance. Within a county, you can have a completely different need at one high school than you do in another. It needs to be local. Okay? Some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. does not know what your kid needs. They only know that they have money to play with, and they figure out the best way to spend it. Investing $15.4 billion in Title I grants to local educational agencies. Agencies. Notice they didn't say schools. Okay? This is just a loophole so that agencies that claim to help education or want to help education can get these grants, and then there's no oversight. And so this is just a way for people to get money to special interest groups. Okay? If it says schools, I'd say great, but it doesn't. And so I'm willing to bet that most of that money goes to special interest groups. Ensuring access to high quality preschool programs for 4-year-olds. Okay, hold on. I got no problem with preschool. Okay, I think it's great. You're getting your child used to being around other children. You're teaching them about authority figures. You're teaching them about self-respect. You're teaching them about playing nice and sharing. And then you're also teaching them the basics, their colors, their numbers, their shapes. Okay? That's what preschool's all about. And that's a great thing. Right? What's happening is it's the words high quality that bother me. Okay? What does high quality mean? Does that mean you've got excellent teachers? Does that mean you have a better facility? Does that mean you have better equipment or materials or snacks? What does it mean? Okay, there's no definition for it. Okay? If it means all those things I just said, great. But I have a feeling it means starting kids even younger in subjects like math, reading, spelling, getting them started too soon. There's a certain amount of growth that occurs in the brain between ages 3 and 5. And then between ages 5 and 7, growth occurs in a different part of the brain. That's why we start kids in school at 5, 6, and 7. Because that's when they're primed to learn how to learn. If we're doing that when they're 3 and 4 years old, it's not going to be as successful. There's going to be some students who embrace it and they're great at it. Awesome. But not everybody's going to be that. So this idea of spending $1.3 billion on preschool for 4-year-olds, again, this needs to be a local issue. You know, who really needs the preschools, who doesn't, who's it going to help, who's it not going to help. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of programs for preschoolers in every major city in this country, run primarily by churches. And you don't have to belong to the church to send your kid there. All you have to do is pay for it. Now, if you are in a lower socioeconomic area, then the preschools you find should be able to help you with a scholarship or a grant. Those things are out there and people just don't know it, but they exist. And all you have to do is ask. And there's no shame in it. Ask. You want what's best for your kid, you ask what they can do for you. For All initiative, $4 billion. Academically, computer science is coding, it's learning languages, it's developing applications and software. That's computer science. It is an essential part of our society. There is no question. But every student is not going to be a computer scientist, nor do they need to be. They need to be technologically savvy, but that's not the same as computer science. Okay? If the meaning is we need to get access to kids who don't have computers at home so that they can learn the skills they need to join the workforce, wonderful. But if it's all about you need to know every nook and cranny of a computer, no, they don't. No, they don't. They don't. We need to have it, equal access to technology. And there was an initiative several years ago. I don't remember the name of the bill. I apologize, but it was about getting the internet connections out into the rural and urban areas. There was money set aside for it. Did it happen? Probably not, because I've not heard anything great about it. Okay. There were state initiatives, there were federal initiatives. I don't think anything actually got done on that. So this is just more evidence that the Federal Department of Education is just a placeholder agency wasting our money, billions and billions of dollars of our money, when we could be giving that to buying books for our kids or improving infrastructure. There are buildings that are crumbling that children are in, and they're dangerous. But because the federal DOE doesn't get the money where it needs to go, they have to do the best they can. And their local and state authorities need to be doing a better job, really, so seriously. Um, Investing in the Stronger Together program, which encourages the voluntary development and support of an innovative, ambitious plans to increase socioeconomic diversity through community-supported strategies. You know what that sounds like to me? We need to spend millions of dollars teaching kids that they need to be nice to each other and help one another and to be a community. We don't need millions of dollars to do that. We need parents to do that. We need their children what it is to be socially appropriate. They need to learn about mores and ethics and morals and learn what it means to really be part of a community. We don't need the federal DOE to do that for us. We just need parents to step up and do it. And that's one of the big problems in education right now. Of community college for responsible students through a $60.8 billion program. If a child has been accepted to a community college, has passed their entrance exams, and is ready to begin, I do not mind my money going there. That's fine. Here's the thing. This was proposed in 2017. I've thought about it since. If people were getting free college, we'd hear about it, right? And it wouldn't still be a campaign promise. So where did the $60 billion go? I want to know. Because I know it isn't going to community colleges. I know it isn't going to free tuition. It's gone somewhere it shouldn't be. Improving the Pell Grant program by allowing students to take courses year-round and stay on track to graduate. Right now, if you fill out your federal student aid form, your FAFSA, you can get aid for the spring and fall semesters, but not summer. Okay? If students were able to do that during the summer, they could graduate on time in 4 years. Okay? I was a 5-year grad for this reason. I didn't have financial aid in the summer. And if you say, well, that program's probably up and running, no, it's not. My nephew is a senior at Purdue, and he has to go an extra semester because he couldn't get student aid this summer. And he graduates next year. So This isn't a few years ago. This is now. Okay. So this program never got off the ground. I wonder where the money went. To simplify the FAFSA so families can more easily access resources to help pay for college. How about teaching people in lower socioeconomic districts how to fill it out? Let's start there. Okay. There are so many people that don't even know that if their income is below a certain level, their child can go to college for free. They just tell their kids, you're not meant to go to college, or we're too poor for college, or we can't afford college. If you're in that position, they can go for free as long as you sign up. And too many families don't have this information. There needs to be an initiative to educate families on how they can get access to Pell Grants and other grants and scholarships and loans so that their kids can go to school. Because there's no reason any one person should ever be told, we don't have the money. It's there. You just need to apply for it. Okay. These bugaboos with standardized testing is, let's improve graduation rates. Let's do this, let's do that. Let's decide where to spend the most money. I'm here to tell you, I've done the research. There's no correlation between how much money is spent and graduation rates. Okay? So, in Montana, which is the highest graduation rate in the country, they graduate 94% of their high school seniors, and they spend around $11,680 per student. Okay? Let's go down to Connecticut, which is number 15. They have a 91% graduation rate, so only 3% difference. But they spend $20,635 per student. That's almost double. And they have fewer graduates. And then let's look at West Virginia, which is routinely in the bottom 3 for education. Okay? They're always in the bottom, and they spend more than $12,000 per student. So they're spending more than Montana, but they have the worst graduation rates in the country. Money doesn't solve the problem. Graduation rates will only increase when teachers are paid what they're worth and are really invested in their kids. When standardized testing is gone and the kids can focus on learning what they need to learn. Okay? Graduation rates are about everyone being involved in every child's education. Parents need to step up. Administrators need to stop pressuring their teachers about testing. And the Federal DOE needs to go away. Okay? What's going to happen in our next episode? Episode 3 is all about standardized testing. I know that in my college classes, when I ask students about standardized testing, there's a general groan within the classroom and a lot of and oh and lots of negativity around it. They hate it. They hate doing it. Okay? The proposed strategy behind standardized testing is that it helps make comparisons between schools to decide where the money goes, and also to hold teachers accountable for how much they're teaching their students. Okay? Sounds great in theory, but unfortunately, it's not really happening. Okay? What's happening is that students are being forced to learn to take a test and not being taught the basics and fundamentals that they need to succeed once they get out of high school. Okay? There's so much more remediation now in college. It's ridiculous. Kids that come out of high school, they've graduated, and they can't do algebra. They can't do a simple English essay. They don't understand basic science because they've spent all their time preparing for tests instead of actually learning. So standardized testing needs to go away for a variety of reasons. And that's just one. That's just one. In February of 2021, there was a news article in the Northeast Valley News about the Department of Education saying, okay, it's time to start testing again once COVID cleared up, once we were back in school. And an article in the Classroom in 2018 told us that standardized test results affect school funding and are sometimes linked directly to teacher pay. Okay. How crazy is that? Okay. Not every student is a good test taker. When I started college, I took my placement test and I was placed in English class lower than I needed to be in. I was bored out of my mind. You know why? I have test anxiety. I can't take a test to save my life. I'm awful at it. The same problem. She's terrible at taking tests. Took her 3 times to try and get past the graduation test, which was Indiana's standardized test. She's just not good at taking tests. And it was incredibly disheartening and discouraging. She felt stupid. And it has nothing to do with stupid or smart. She's just not good at taking tests. She's not good at being under time pressure. And I'm the same way. I'm not good at being sure. I don't like that at all. I want to be able to take my time. And so basically what happens with these test scores is that if a school fails to meet adequate yearly progress, which is AYP, standards may not be able to be given money. This is so backward. Okay, so the richest schools get the best scores and get more money, but the poorer schools who have lower scores get no money. Those are the schools who need more infrastructure updates. All this does is perpetuate the notion that the rich schools get richer and the poor schools get poorer. Okay, that's exactly what's happening. All right, so it's really unfortunate that standardized testing has such a hold on education, and that the Federal Department of Education, which accounts for less than 10% of any state's education budget, has this much power. When I ran for state superintendent of education in Indiana in 2016, my primary goal was to stop standardized testing and get rid of federal funding so that we could do what we needed to do on a state and local level. Got me in trouble with a lot of Republicans, but I didn't see the need for it. All I saw was the damage it was doing. And we will get into that much, much deeper in episode 3. Thank you for watching. Thank you for visiting us at Education Unveiled. I'm Professor Dawn Wooten, and I hope you have a blessed day, wonderful week, and remember, parents, your kids need you. Get off your phone, turn off the TV, get off your computer. Help them with their homework. They need you, and you need to be there to help them. The only way we're going to solve the problems in education is if we all do it together. Have a great night, a great day, a great afternoon, a great morning, wherever you are. And join us again for Education Unveiled. Take good care.